Welcome to another episode of Sir Reviews. Today, Sir Reviews the Onewheel Pint. First things first, let's get some numbers out of the way. Pause here if you want to. Let's address the two asterisks real quick. The max speed is 16 miles per hour, but if you even try to hit that, the board will respond with something called pushback. Pushback is the name for a mechanism that slowly raises the nose of your board to let you know that you're reaching the limit of the motor. If you push past this, the motor will disengage and no longer try to balance you. This is bad. It's important to mention this at the top of the review because this is the number one cause for injury for riders because the board will nosedive and throw you off like a catapult. For obvious reasons, I will not be demonstrating this, but you can find many examples elsewhere on YouTube. The second asterisk is related to battery life. I never tested the battery life, but it is measured in distance. The faster you push the motor, the faster the battery will drain. It's not a factor I think about all that much since most of my travels fall under that 6-mile limit. And that's only assuming I'm going top speed, but because of what I mentioned in my previous post, I'm not. So what is this? Well, as Jhon says, the truth resists simplicity. I could tell you this is a one-wheeled electric skateboard, but that doesn't quite feel right. To the unknowing eye, this looks and acts like something from the future. It almost looks like it isn't supposed to work, but it does. It appears almost magical. However, I can tell you from the behind the scenes videos that Future Motion has shown, it's clear that this is a polished engineering marvel. The fact that it looks like magic is a testament to what Future Motion has been able to accomplish. So how do you use it? The Onewheel has a pressure sensitive foot pad on the front that engages a self-balancing motor. In other words, unless you turn this on, you essentially have a very expensive seesaw. When you turn it on, the motors and sensors inside are waiting for your input. Once you put your foot on the pad, it gets a sense for your weight and then self-balances, almost instantly. Now this only works if your foot is covering both ends of the pad. As you can see, there's a right and a left side. The light bar on the front of the board shows this. Speaking of lights, this board comes with front and back lights which glow red or white depending on which orientation you're facing. Once the foot pad is engaged, you simply lean forward to go forward. The more you lean, the faster you go. And braking is done by leaning in the opposite direction. Now's a good time to mention a fork in the road. You can actually decide what happens when you lean too far back. Historically, leaning back meant that the board was going to keep riding backwards in the other direction. Now this is actually preferred for experienced riders, but for beginners like me, it kind of leaves you with the question, how do you stop this thing? Remember the foot pad? Well, if you lift your foot up so that it's only covering one of the sensors, you can actually get the motor to stop. However, personally, this was too hard to grasp when I was just starting off. Fortunately, Future Motion added a feature they call Simple Stop. With Simple Stop, when you lean back, it slows down and disengages the motor, allowing you to get off easily. So what does it feel like to ride this thing? Well, that's a good question, me from the past. The best metaphor I've seen online is that it feels like you're riding a snowboard on concrete. While I've never been snowboarding, I've ridden skateboards, longboards, inline skates, and I've never felt something quite like the Onewheel. The fact that you're essentially balancing on a go-kart tire means that the ride is super smooth even on Jersey City roads. By comparison, on a skateboard you feel every crack, every bump, and every pebble you come across. And trust me, if you ride around here, that's practically unavoidable. On the Onewheel, you glide by like you're riding a magic carpet. The Onewheel is also more maneuverable than any board I've ridden. For example, the wheel allows you to turn on a dime, making U-turns super easy. By comparison, the turning radius on a longboard makes this a Herculean effort. If you've never ridden a Onewheel, this extra movement can actually throw you off guard. It did for me, since I was more used to the limited movement that boards have. After a while, I came to appreciate and respect the extra movement and use it wisely. Also, this thing can handle different terrains, but your mileage may vary. Wait, hold up. Can we just appreciate this view real quick? If by any chance any of you that are watching are not from Jersey, or even if you are from Jersey, this is Liberty State Park. Welcome. One of the parts of old Jersey City that has thankfully not changed. I think technically we're not supposed to ride these here, but oh look, it's the Statue of Liberty. Also, if you like the beat you're listening to right now, that was made by my boy Jose. Shout out to Riho Beats one time. I'll leave a link in the description. Go show my boy some love. So I've been riding the Onewheel for about 2 months, and that's been almost enough to feel comfortable riding it, but comfortable enough to commute? Not quite. Allow me to explain. You see, I live in Jersey City, often named by outsiders as New York City's 6th borough. It's a city in the midst of revitalization. I'm doing this in air quotes. Basically gentrification. What this means is that there's currently a divide on many things, including our roads. In the last few years, the city has made moves to promote other forms of transportation, most notably bikes, but there may be scooters in the future. In addition, they redid some road lines to reduce car lanes and add some bike lanes. If you're riding on these lanes, things are mostly pretty good. You still get your fair share of double parked cars, but overall you feel more welcomed on the road today than ever before. This has now gone without some controversy, however. Understandably, car people are mad because they're getting less parking and less space on the road. I say all of this to say, there are still many roads in the city that are not set up to accommodate other forms of transportation, which makes some areas safer than others, and that makes commuting very iffy. This also leaves the sidewalk as the only option, which in itself is a challenge. The terrain and elevation changes on a per block basis, and then you have to worry about people as well. Listen, I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's not for me. Because of this, I prefer just cruising around in the park and around the streets where I live. So should you buy one? I don't know, man. This video isn't sponsored, so cut to check future motion. I'll tell you why I bought one. I like the idea of electric rideables, and I felt the urge to try out something like the Onewheel. My Onewheel offers a riding experience that I've never felt before. The fact that I can control this with my body makes me feel like I have powers. After a while, you don't even acknowledge the board and it feels like you're a ghost floating around town. Not only is it fun as hell, but it looks cool too. People often stop and stare because it just doesn't make sense to them. I'd say my background in skating helped a bit, but not by a lot. This means that I think new riders should have no trouble getting started. You'd be surprised by how intuitive the controls feel. So, what do you think? Subscribe, dislike if you hate it, do all the stuff down there. And shout out to my cousin Jhon for helping me record. You're the man. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.